Okay, so today we're going to dive into a really fascinating character from the sci-fi world of Mitty and Chamas. We're talking about Kiara, an android mercenary who is so much more than meets the eye.
And boom, this is how we meet her. These are literally some of her first words. It perfectly sets the tone, right? This is not your friendly neighborhood service android. This is a professional who has zero time for nonsense, and her language is just as sharp as her aim. And to really get who Kiara is, you have to see her through the lens of her mission. She's been hired to protect this young woman, Akiko, and it's this single responsibility, this promise, that ends up driving every move she makes and starts to peel back the layers on what's really going on behind the programming. So, to unpack all of that, we're going to look at her through 5 key areas. We'll start with her blunt introduction, then dig into the promise that defines her, the dangerous world she operates in, her complicated connections, and finally, the big question: is she more than just a machine?
All right, so let's talk about first impressions, which in Kiara's case are deliberately intimidating. And you gotta understand, this isn't just about having an attitude, it's a full-on survival mechanism.
Yeah, we find out pretty quickly she's not just any android. She's part of an elite class called Arum, which is currently inactive, by the way. This tells you right off the bat she's a high-end, top-tier model, built specifically for combat and strategy in a world that absolutely demands it.
You know, her whole style of communication is just ruthlessly efficient. In the criminal underworld she calls home, being polite is a luxury you can't afford, and a moment's hesitation can get you killed. For Kiara, it is always about the mission, full stop.
But, okay, underneath that hardened, all-business exterior, there is this deeply held promise that dictates her every single move. And this is where her character just gets so much more interesting.
Turns out, this isn't just another paying gig for her. Her #1 motivation is a personal promise she made to a friend, Maya. Protecting Akiko isn't about the credits. It's about loyalty. It's about honor. And that just adds a whole new dimension to her character.
And a moment like this just perfectly illustrates that hidden depth. After Akiko goes through something truly traumatic and just breaks down, Kiara doesn't just stand there like a machine. She actually holds her, she comforts her, and she says these incredibly gentle words. It's this flash of unexpected tenderness that's a world away from her usual blunt self.
And in these rare, quiet moments, you can really see their relationship evolving. This isn't just a bodyguard and a client anymore. You're watching a genuine bond of trust and, well, care form between them. And that goes way beyond the original parameters of any mission.
So let's talk about the world Kiara moves through, because this dangerous, chaotic landscape is exactly what forged her into the android she is.
A lot of the story happens in what are called the no man's lands. The best way to think of them is like the Wild West of this sci-fi future. They're these huge, lawless zones where contracts are king and your official identity can be completely erased. It's the perfect playground for a mercenary like Kiara.
And this is the ecosystem where she thrives. We're talking about incredibly high stakes, like 13 million credit bounties just floating around. You've got powerful local militias, a booming black market for the latest military hardware, and a place where you can literally become a nobody, which is both a huge danger and a strange kind of freedom.
And Kiara isn't just getting by in this world, she's an absolute master of it. She's described as a sniper strategist, and we see her in action in Egypt, just methodically taking out enemy posts with a rifle, which is named Voûte Dévorar. That translates to I will devour you. I mean, how perfect is that for her lethal precision?
You know, you can tell a lot about a person by the company they keep, and Kiara's relationships are just packed with history, tension, and even a little bit of friendly trash talk. Her connections really show you the 2 different sides of her life. On one hand, you have Trix, an old friend. With him, it's all playful jabs and inside jokes, this easy camaraderie built on a shared, rough past. But then on the other hand, you have Simon, this manipulative guy she can't stand. Their interactions are basically a Cold War, just a constant, tense battle of wills and strategy. So all of this, her skills, her promise, her past, it all leads us to the central, most compelling question in this whole story. What is really going on inside Kiara's head?
The narrative is constantly pushing us, and the characters around her, to ask this question. Is she just an unbelievably sophisticated machine that's executing a loyalty program? Or is there something more there, something that feels like a genuine emotion?
This observation is from Akiko, who's watching Kiara
during this moment of really intense emotion. And it's such a powerful line, not that a tear did fall, but that it wanted to. That suggests this profound internal struggle, a depth of feeling that just seems to defy her mechanical nature.
And this right here is a crucial moment. She's vulnerable, and she expresses this deep, personal guilt. She doesn't say, mission objective compromised. She says, I failed her and you. That's not a logical assessment from a machine. That is the language of loyalty, of love, and of profound personal failure.
In the end, we're left with this really powerful question. The story suggests that maybe her true identity isn't forged in code and wires, but in the choices she makes, in the loyalties she honors, in the promises she would literally die to protect. And that's a pretty compelling look at what it means to be human, whether you're made of flesh and blood or not.